Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a great weekend. If you are in Washington or in New Jersey, New York, you probably had a good weekend. So hopefully it was your team that won, won over the weekend and not lost. So kudos to all those winners. So and also kudos to everybody on this call for those that are not working bankers hours. So I really appreciate the fact that you're putting the time in, even though a lot of your cohorts are not. So congrats on that as well. So any questions, concerns before as we go through here, just shoot them to the questions and we'll absolutely address them. So here we go. Oops, got to switch my thing. Okay, here we go. So investment news 1/5/15. So January 5th, 15 had this article in there about F Squared. F Squared is a large $25 billion money manager, and it's very well known and very well respected. But it just received $35 million in penalties for false return claims. And this is the this is the one thing that you hear me rail about every other week, is the fact that, guys, why do we invest? What should we expect from stock market investments, money manager investments? What should we expect from them? What's our expectations for them? What do we tell our clients about our equity side, our growth side, our money manager side? Let's see some answers to that. Growth and excess? No, not better than average. That's exactly what I want to hear. So I get a better than average. No. So, John, you got it right. Growth and access, that's all we have. What else do we have? The win-win is successful. No, so I'm not talking about, guys, why do we invest in fixed index annuities, first of all? What's the fixed index annuities side? That's because you're smart, John. That's right, for the safe side. So we're not looking for growth on the fixed index annuity side. We're just looking for the best place to have the guaranteed money. And fixed index annuities beat the heck out of bonds, beat the heck out of CDs, beat the heck out of money markets. So it's the best place to save money. But on the growth side, guys, all we want, if you start to tell them that you're going to get better than the market, what is going to happen to you guys? If you start to convince your clients that you got some sort of genius money manager who's going to beat the market, what's going to happen? If you start touting the fact that your money manager is going to beat the failure, trouble, exactly, because there are going to be times when they're not going to beat the market. And then what are your clients going to say? They're going to be mad at you. Also, should we be touting that our money manager is going to keep us safe on the downside? No. Guys, let the fixed index annuity do what it's supposed to do, which is protect the downside, 50% on the downside of their money on the downside, so it can't lose money. And then on the other side, just tell them, hey, when the market does good, we're going to do good. When the market does poorly with our money manager, we're going to do poorly. That's the way that it works. That's why we're 50-50. We know most times we're going to do good. Sometimes we're going to do poorly. But don't try to tell your clients that you're going to get anything but when the market goes up, you're going to do good, and when the market goes down, you're going to do poorly with the money manager side. Don't do it. The reason that we are 50-50 in FIAs and the market, or money managers, whatever you want to use in the equity side, is so we can speak truthfully to clients. We have 50% of the money that's never going to go down, and we have 50% of the money that's going to go up when the market goes up and down when the market goes down. If you do that, you're not going to have angry clients. You're not going to have angry clients. But the reason I say this is because these money managers who tell you this BS, it's just that BS. So they're getting fined. F Squared is just one more example of a money manager who's getting fined for misleading clients for years. They touted a track record that wasn't tied to real money. It was completely hypothetical, yet they were telling everybody that this was an actual portfolio that they had. And they used faulty calculations to inflate results. They, quote-unquote, mistakenly applied buy and sell signals to their backtrack, to their now I'm drawing a blank. What is it when you back testing? Thank you. So so they mistakenly applied buy and sell signals, enabling their back-tested model to buy ETFs before the price rose and sell before it fell. Guys, that's like you going, I mean, we could all do that. How many of us could create a portfolio that would kick ass if we could go back and look over the last 10, 15 years and just look for getting into a mutual fund or an ETF or a stock before it went up and get out before it fell. And yet, here it is. Here it is. They claim that this was a real account. And F Squared is not the only ones that play this game. See, they promoted that they didn't lose money in 2008 based on this backtracked portfolio. Of course they didn't lose money when you can get out, when you can go back and play with the numbers and get out before everything goes down. So guys, do you get why I don't there is no great money manager out there. There's a bunch of good money managers out there. That's right, Rick. There are no crystal balls. There is no great money. If there was a great money manager out there, if there was a money manager who had it figured out, how do we know there isn't a money manager who's got it figured out? How do we know there is no money manager that's got it figured out? How do we know, though? How do we know for sure that there's no money manager that has it figured out? There's a very easy test to this. That's right, Michael. That's right, Charles. They would have all of the money. That's right, everybody got it. They'd have all of the money. So please, save yourself lots of problems by just touting your money manager as a good, solid money manager that makes money when the market goes up and loses money when the market goes down. And we're not worried about them losing money when the market goes down because we've got all this money over here that's safe in FIAs so that when the market comes back up, we can share in all that. We won't do anything silly. Does that make sense? So don't believe money managers when they start showing you their fantastic track records. Because there is, what do we know? Anybody that has what do we know about anybody that has a fantastic track record, guys? What do we know that anybody, and this has been proven by academia over and over and over, what do we know about somebody who's got a fantastic track record? You got it, John. And John says they're lucky. So what that means, if they've got a fantastic track record, it means they're at the right place at the right time. They're taking more risks than everybody else to beat everybody, which means that when things don't go their way, guess what? It's going to go down. So does that make sense? Just please, don't believe your money managers have things figured out. They don't. So just tell your clients, listen, when the market goes up, we're going to go up with our money manager. When the market goes down, we're going to go down with the money manager. Make sense? That way you'll stay clean. There'll be no bad conversations with your clients. It's the easiest way to go. Then I just want to run by that for those of you that are still doing Social Security events, on the Social Security portion of the website, under Marketing, under Social Security, we now have bridging conversations, both audio and script, that allows you to take somebody who's only comes to see you and is only interested about Social Security to turn them into somebody who wants you to do a 21-point checklist with them. So we have those scripts now up under the Marketing section, Social Security, so that you can convert somebody at that first meeting from simply somebody who wants a Social Security information to somebody who wants you to do a 21-point checklist. The great thing is you can use that same script, just modifying it a tiny bit to change somebody who's just coming in to get their taxes done into somebody who wants a 21-point checklist. And also with health insurance, for all those of you guys that just went through the health insurance season and have brought on a lot of new clients or went back and saw clients and conserved them over the last couple of months for your health insurance business, that same Social Security script, again, can be just tweaked a little bit to get all of those health insurance clients to want to do a 21. So if you've got a tax practice, if you've got a health insurance practice and don't know, go to the Social Security section under Marketing and look for those bridging conversations. And if you have any questions on how to tweak that, I think it's pretty obvious, but if you have any questions on how to tweak it, just give me a holler, let me know, and we'll talk about it and show you how to tweak that. So the great thing is with Social Security, you get in front of a lot of people. Tax practices get a lot in front of people, and health insurance get a lot in front of a lot of people. What we want to do is make sure you then can convert them to 21-point checklists, because if you convert them to 21-point checklists and you're even average at the 21-point checklist, guess what you just created? A ton of money with how much marketing? Very little, okay?
And just a reminder one more time where
Yes.
those are located at. They are under the Social Security package underneath presentations, and then go underneath the training video, audios, and scripts section, and you'll find those bridging conversations.
And they're called bridging conversations.
Yep.
So there's 2 of them in there with a tape. Super. Any questions on that? Okay, now to the topic I want to talk about today. So when Jeff or I hear they're moving money to me, they were really mad, and so we hear from you after you do a 21-point checklist. They are moving their money to me. They are livid. When I showed them the fees, they went through the roof. What do you think Jeff and I think when we hear an advisor say that? Mike, Jeff, they are moving their money to me, man. They were livid when I showed them the fees. Aha, Rick's got it. Michelle's got it. Tony's got it. Yeah, they're saying, uh-oh, bad, not good. Not the right motives. Exactly, Michelle. How about when I hear, oh, man, they were livid because I'm going to show them the market's just down 15%. They've lost a ton of money. What do I think about that? Aha, Michael's got it. That's not the purpose of the meeting. If I'm living by showing their investments bad, if I'm living by if the market's down, if I'm living by those motives, guess what? That's very, very dangerous because if I live by the sword, I'm going to die by the sword. So if all I do is attack their investments, if all I do is get happy when the market goes down, I'm going to have a problem. So, Michael, you got it right. You said that's not the purpose of the meeting. What is the purpose of the meeting, guys? What is the purpose of the 21-point checklist meeting? Is it about their investments? Is it about, Jay's got it, kill the advisor? We're going to use that sword on the advisor, not on their investments. As Jeff always says, we're not talking about their investments. We're just simply using their investments as yet one more conversation to talk about, as Eric says, their guy. That's what that meeting is all about. It's not about you. See, again, this is a mistake that a lot of guys, when they first come on, think it's about me. I'm going to say, so I would never sell an investment like that. I would do this. I would do that. No, it's not. Should the word I would, or should the phrase I would come out of your mouth during the 21-point checklist? I would do. I would never. I would always. Should it ever, that phrase I would ever come out of your mouth during the 21-point checklist? No. This is not about you. It's also not about their investments. Again, Jeff always points out that the investments, as well as everything else in the 21-point checklist, it's not about that thing. It's just another excuse to talk about their guy. Make sense? It's always about their advisor. That's what that meeting is about. And if you do that, you're never going to fail. Why would that never fail? See, if it's about their investment, if their investment is doing well, guess what? That's going to be a problem, right? I can fail with that. But will I ever fail if I have them realize their guy is the problem? Now, how do we prevent? Let's see if I can hear some good answers on this. We all know that if we attack their guy, their knee-jerk reaction is going to be to defend their guy. So how does the 5Q system get around not attacking their guy? Or I should say, how does it get around attacking the guy? How do we make sure we don't get them to attack their guy? Right, Tony? We get them to attack their guy. They discovered on their own. They attack. Yeah, you got it. Awesome. They all say it. Now, but there's one necessary thing. There's one necessary thing. So you all got it. You have the client find out. And now, I got one answer I want to talk about. Will we succeed if all we do is point out their guy's mistakes? Will we succeed if all we do is point out their guy's mistakes? No, exactly. We're getting a lot of no's. Exactly. Because that's what most advisors do anyways. We can't point out their mistakes. They have to find out what that guy did. Now, we have to do it in a very particular way, though. Let's say that the first thing I covered with them, and I did it right. Let's say I do it the right way. But the 21-point checklist, let's say they have a variable annuity. They have a variable annuity, and I do that variable annuity script perfectly. So the client tells me that their guy, that they didn't want life insurance, they didn't want the expensive life insurance, they didn't want that life insurance that was not tax favored, and they were never told they could invest in those same ones. So the client says all those things, but it's the first thing that we cover, what may happen. and what probably will happen. Even though we do it right, the client says all those things, what will happen if that's the first thing we cover? They'll defend their guy, Tony's right. Even if we do it right, if that's the first thing that we cover, they'll defend their guy. Why? Well, I always use this analogy. If I'm my best friend, and I have worked together for 20 years, we've worked together for 20 years, and somebody comes up and says, hey, I saw your friend taking $20 out of your desk, what am I going to say? Somebody says, hey, I saw Bob take $20 out of your desk. They're going to say, no way, Tony. Exactly. They're going to say, no way. If he did, how do you know it's the right desk? And how do you know he's taking $20 out? Or if even if he did, we borrow and lend money to us all the time, to each other all the time. So they're going to defend him. But what if instead they do this? What if they say, hey, Mike, I thought you should know why you've been working 70-hour work weeks. Well, why is that? Well, remember 3 months ago when Bob was taken off your project? It's because he went to the boss and asked to be taken off your project because he said he had other things that he needed to work on. Well, he finished those other things not a week later, but he never asked to be put back onto your project. And he thought, well, eventually the boss would put somebody on there, but nobody did, and he just never said anything. So what am I thinking about Bob at that point? Am I going to divorce Bob as a friend at that point? Or am I just going to say, hey, thanks a lot, dude. You owe me a case of beer. Will I divorce him, or will I basically say, hey, dude, thanks a lot? Not how friends treat each other. Which one? Will I divorce him over just over something like that? No, exactly. So what if they say, well, there's another thing you should know. Well, what's that? Remember last Friday it was your daughter's sweet 16th birthday? And the boss had to call you in. Well, what happened is Bob met a gal the night before, wanted to spend the next day in bed with her, so he called in sick, and the boss said, hey, you got to come in. It's Mike's day off. And Bob says, I'm sick. I'm not coming in. And he says, no, you have to understand. Mike took this day off 8 months ago. He arranged to have this day off. Well, I'm still sick. That doesn't, the fact that he took it 8 months off 8 months ago doesn't mean anything to me. I'm still sick. The boss said, no, you don't understand. It's his daughter's sweet 16th birthday. That only happens once in a lifetime. Is there any way you can come in? And Bob says, well, then the breaks. I'm still sick. Now what am I thinking about Bob? Dirtbag, yeah, dirtbag, bad news. And then they don't say a single thing, but they say, well, you should probably look at the security tape. And there Bob is on the security tape. They don't say a single thing, but I just watched this tape in silence as Bob takes $20 out of my desk. Do I think Bob's borrowing that $20, or I think he's what? Or I know he's what? He's stealing it. And they didn't have to say a single word. So what's the difference between them saying at the very beginning, hey, Bob, I saw Bob stealing $20 out of your desk, and the way that just happened? Well, here's the difference. See, we think people think they need our help. They don't need our help. If they really thought they needed our help, what would they have done a long time ago? They would have looked up and found some help in the Yellow Pages. So all they're coming is to get some questions answered. They're a little bit curious, but they're not looking for our help. See, they're not unsatisfied with their situation, because if they were, they would have left their guy a long time ago. They're completely satisfied. See, they think their guy walks on water. Do you get this? When they first come to see us, they're not looking for help. Sure, they're looking for some free information. Sure, they're looking to pick your brain, but are they looking for help? No, because they think their guy walks on water. How do we know that they think their guy walks on water? How do we know that? Sometimes they tell us, John, I'd agree with that. How else do we know that? Just by their actions. What actions are they making that we know they think the guy walks on water? Because they haven't left him, Tony. Exactly. They're still working with him. That's why everybody's getting it. Yeah, so they're still working with him. So if they're still working with him, I'm going to assume they think their guy walks on water. If I'm going to make an assumption, do I want to assume they think their guy walks on water, or that they're coming in for help? I'm always going to assume that they think their guy walks on water. Because what kind of mistake can I make if I think that they're unsatisfied with their guy and they're coming in for help? What kind of mistake can I make if I assume, instead of assuming that the guy walks in water if I instead assume that they're coming in for help and they're unsatisfied with the guy? What kind of mistake can I make? Yes, Michael, I'll take shortcuts. Exactly, I will take shortcuts. That's a bad thing. So I'm never going to assume that they're dissatisfied and they're. Now, here's the thing. Very clever clients will come in and they'll say, I'm not happy with my guy. He's not doing his job. Guys, I've seen it with myself in my own practice, and I've seen it through other people's practices so many times. Why do clients come in and tell you that they're dissatisfied with their guy? So they came to you not from a referral, but they came to through some sort of marketing, and then their first words out of their mouth is they're not satisfied with their guy. What are they doing? To pick your brain, right, Rick? They're just saying, see, they're expert consumers. They just want to see what you have, Jay. Exactly right. So they're expert consumers, so they know what it is that you want to hear. You want to hear that they're not happy, because if you hear they're not happy, you start puking out all your information because you think they're going to move to you. You start showing how smart you are. So that, and then in the end, these people who aren't happy with their guy do what? These people who, when I say they're unhappy, they're not unhappy. The people who say they're unhappy with their guy do what in the end? They go right back to their guy. It's their expert consumers. They know that what you want to hear is that they don't like their guy, and then you puke out all your great information, and then they go back to their guy. So we're going to assume that when they woke up in the morning, they think their guy walks on water. So the first thing we need to do, if they think their guy walks on water, is to knock him off his pedestal, so that they think, oh, I guess he's not perfect. I mean, I still think he's a good guy, but he's not perfect. What's the difference between somebody who thinks their guy walks on water and when they think their guy is not perfect, but he's still a good guy? What's the difference between my guy walks on water, he doesn't, he can't do anything wrong, to somebody who's, well, he's not, he doesn't walk on water, but I still think he's a pretty good guy. What's the difference? See, that's okay. I'm glad I'm covering this topic then, because I'm not getting any of the answers I'm looking for. John got it. They become a little bit disillusioned. Because here's the thing. If I think my guy walks on water, will they ever believe he's stealing from me? If I think my guy walks on water, will I ever? No, I won't, exactly. So the reason the meeting is set up the way that it is because why do we cover the Survivor's Guide? Do we truly believe anybody's going to peg the blame of the Survivor's Guide on their guy? You'd have to be an unbelievable salesman to get them to leave their guy for a Survivor's Guide. Now, I'm going to do it. I try. When I'm doing the Survivor's Guide, I'm presenting it in a manner that I think this is the only reason they're going to leave their guy, but I can't do it. So why do you think I cover the Survivor's Guide, guys? Why do I cover the Survivor's Guide? So I'm giving you some hints from the things we've been talking about. Tony, got a chink in their armor. Their guy didn't. Exactly. It's the first step, Roy. So what we're doing is getting them to believe what? Michael's got it. How to boil the frog. See, if they think their guy walks on water, the first step is to have them think, well, he may not walk on water, but he's an awesome guy, even though he doesn't walk on water. See, if they admit we're taking a tiny step from he walks on water to, he did, would have been kind of nice if he at least showed this. This would have been a nice thing for him to do. They're not going to divorce their guy over it, but it's the first step in them in knocking that guy off his pedestal, where they think, my guy's still awesome, but yeah, I guess he could have been more awesome if he'd been giving this out to people as well. So it's not about getting them to leave their guy, even though I'm presenting it as if I want to. I'm not serious about it, but they're never going to leave their guy for that. But they do think that this guy who walks on water did miss something that would have been helpful to people. They won't leave him for it, but they think, wow, this is something that would have been nice for him to do. It's the first step. Because here's the thing. If I can get them to admit their guy does not walk on water, can I get them to admit that he maybe made a tiny mistake? And if I get them to admit he made a tiny mistake, can I get them to admit that maybe he made a bigger mistake? And if I get him to admit that he made a bigger mistake, can I get him to admit he made an even bigger mistake? and then a bigger mistake. And then see what we're doing is as Michael says, we're boiling the frog. See, if I the first thing I do, even if I do it right, is jump in and try to show them that the guy's stealing from them, they're going to throw it right back in my face, just like a frog's going to jump right out of the pot. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the pot and slowly turn up the heat. So that's what we're doing. That's why the meeting's set up the way that it is. So why is the non-financial so important? Because I still hear guys not putting, it's not, I mean, you guys are doing the non-financial, but you're doing it without a lot of heart. You're doing it without a lot of heart. And I want you to understand how important the non-financial is. So what is the reasons we do the non-financial? Yeah, so number one, Michael says, is it sets us apart, shows that we care, shows that we're different. We're the only people out there talking about this stuff. It also shows that we care, because remember, guys, if all we're doing is showing products, the problem with that is most people will not buy from you unless they know that you care. And if all I'm doing is showing products, I can't show how much I care until they buy the product. So that's a catch-22. If I'm selling products, I can't show how much I care until they buy the product, but most people aren't going to buy the product until I show how much I care. Some people will, but it's always the small people. People without a lot of money. People with money, they're not going to buy from me until I show how much I care. So I can't. So the 21-point checklist allows us to show that we care, allows us to show that we're different. Second thing is it gets the person that wears the pants in the family on our side, because generally the person who is interested in the investments is not the person who takes care of the family, who makes sure everybody shows up for Thanksgiving, makes sure that arranges all the family gatherings and all. I mean, the person who takes care of the family generally doesn't take care of the investments. It's one or the other. So now we've got both people interested in what we're doing. And of course, like I said, it makes us look different. First of all, it makes us look like a funeral professional, then an attorney, then a doctor, then a security professional, then a tax professional. And if you're doing the mock tax returns, guys, I highly suggest you be doing the mock tax returns. We're actually going to have a coaching call on that here in the next couple of weeks. So it makes us look different, because when they come in, they think all we're going to do is show them a product, but instead we look like all these other professionals. So the 45 minutes goes by, we're just talking about the non-financial. When we finally get to the financial, they're not thinking, oh, he's just trying to sell me. What do they think? If I first look like a funeral professional, then an attorney, then a doctor, then a security professional, then a tax professional, by the time I get to the investments, they look at me as what? What do they look at me as? We care, yeah, I'd agree, but how do they look at me? As a pro, yeah, I would agree with that too. So, yeah, that's right, as an advisor. It's just one more thing I'm giving them information on. I'm not giving information to sell them a product. It's just one more thing that I'm giving them information on. Just one more way that I'm trying to help them. Does that make sense? See, it tips the favor in our side. It buries the other guy. So we've set up the checklist to do this. The first thing we're doing is to get them a little disappointed. That's what the Survivor's Guide's about. And that's why, listen, when we do the power of attorney, do we ever even bring up the other, do we bring up the other guy when we do the power of attorney? No, exactly right. Do we even bring up their company? No. All we say is, what kind of advisor would I be if I didn't take the time to look at somebody's power of attorney to make sure they had access to it when they needed it most? What kind of advisor would I be? So we're hoping they'll make the leap from, well, wait a minute, if Mike would be a bad advisor, my guy didn't do that, he must be a bad advisor too. But we don't even mention him. We're hoping they make that connection. We're hoping they connect the dots, that they make that leap. But the first thing we're doing is just getting them a little disappointed, because, again, we go from Survivor's Guide to medical power of attorney to electronically filing. This is just getting them disappointed with their guy. It's not getting them to leave their guy yet, but it's the first important one chip in the stone, right, Rick? One chip in the stone. But it's important, because if you don't get that first chip in the stone and just go to crack that stone, you're going to break your hammer. So what we want to do is start very, very slowly. So that's the first one. Now, the next thing we do is to get them to irritate. For example, titling is one of the next things that comes after power of attorney. And with titling, do we ever mention their guy? Do we ever mention their guy in titling? This is tricky. This is nuanced. Exactly, Rick, we don't. Who do we mention then? What do we say? We say, well, why would The company case, exactly right. So we say, so why would Wells Fargo allow you to park the money there? Why would Smith Barney allow you to park the money there? So we do not mention the guy at all, but we're getting them, they're starting to connect the dots, and they're starting to get irritated with their guy. And then we get to beneficiary. Beneficiary, we actually then do mention who? The advisor. So if you do all these things, you just get them to be disappointed, so we knock them off their pedestal. They don't walk on water. Then that allows them to think, well, maybe we made a little mistake, bigger mistake, bigger mistake, bigger mistake. So by the time we finally get to the money, see, you can't run to the money. You cannot run to the money. You got to slowly chip away, get them disappointed, get them irritated until we finally get to money. And when you get to the money, see, all great achievements take time. All great achievements take time. And getting them to move all their money, is that a great achievement, guys? Getting these people who probably an hour ago loved their advisor, thought he walked on water, getting them to move all their money to you, that is a great achievement, but it does take time. But if you do these things right, just like when we were talking about Bob, my best friend at work, did they have to say a single word when they showed me that security tape? Or did I just jump to the conclusion? And that's what happens. If you do this right, when you finally get to the money, guess what? You don't have to say anything. They're already jumping to that conclusion. But if you rush to it, what's going to happen when you get to the money? If you rush to those other things, what's going to happen when you get to the money? There's going to be what? Problems, pushback. So you have to slowly get them to realize that my guy doesn't walk on water. You pull him off the pedestal. Oh, he made a tiny mistake, a bigger mistake, a bigger mistake, a bigger mistake, bigger mistake. So when we finally get to the money, we don't have to really be very good at all. They're just going to jump to the conclusion of what? They're going to jump to the conclusion that this guy did all these things on purpose. He's trying to take advantage of it. He's smiling to our face and stabbing us in the back. Does that make sense, guys? So I just wanted to emphasize, I've been listening to a lot of tapes where it seems like people are rushing through the non-financial. The non-financial is if you do the non-financial right, the money part is easy because you won't have to point the finger at all. They're going to be jumping to the conclusion, my guy is stealing from me. My guy is stealing from me when we get to without having to be good at it at all. Does that make sense? And that's why I don't emphasize being good at the money parts. What I always say, be excellent at the power of attorney, be excellent at the titling. If you're excellent at those two parts, you're going to be great at everything else. Make sense? So I've been listening to some tapes, and I've just seen some guys rushing through that non-financial. You got to lay down the groundwork. So when you get to the money, it's easy. Make sense, everybody? Super. Well, again, I appreciate you being on the call on a holiday for all the people working bankers hours, and instead you're in improving yourself. I really appreciate that. I hope you all have a great week, and we will talk to you all on Friday. Thanks, everybody.